You know, guys, I know I already made a video on whether or not you should buy Modern Warfare 2019 Part 2, and I think I did that about a week or two into the game's life cycle, but you know the Scatmaster, although I am critical about this game and very critical towards the devs and their decision-making skills, and for a lack of a better term, the level of their common sense, although there's a lot of things for me to talk about, this game since launch has seen some adjustments, it has seen a few changes, and even though it's not much, there is a little bit more content than there was at launch. And we all know this game is on sale. There's gonna be a lot of people getting Christmas money, Christmas gifts. You know, there might be a few kids out there that ask their parents, or I guess Santa Claus, for this game in particular. And since I'm on vacation right now and I gotta make some videos in advance, I figured I'd touch back on this topic because there's gotta be some people out there that are wondering, have I changed my views? Have my opinions changed at all? And nowadays, towards the end of December, going into January, do I recommend that anybody buy Modern Warfare 2019 Part 2? My view hasn't changed all that much, but the Scatmaster has to be fair, and I gotta talk about some of the good things going for this game, as well as a lot of the bad things that are plaguing this game. So first off, I'll talk about some of the good things that I couldn't have talked about at the launch of this game because they simply didn't exist. We have the addition of Warzone 2 now, we also have the addition of DMZ, as well as some raids in the Spec Ops mode, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but as for Warzone 2 and DMZ, look, personally, I'm not really a big fan of these types of games, not really a fan of extraction modes, not really a fan of BRs. Personally, I still think Warzone 1, originally on Verdansk, is a lot better than Caldera and Al Mazrah, I think is what it's called. The one thing I'll say is that Warzone 2 is free if you get MW2, so it's kind of like a supplementary type of content. It's not really gonna kill you to play it, although it is gonna kill your storage at least a little bit. So I guess that's one good thing going for this game that is not directly multiplayer related. And I also have to admit, I didn't really have that many good things to say about DMZ, but I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't played it and I don't plan on ever playing it. But the reception from a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I genuinely mean like extraction mode fans, as well as people who wouldn't have given it a chance to begin with. These people are coming into my comments and they're telling me that it's actually a pretty good time. And you get a pretty good weapon out of it in the M13, which is actually really good in the multiplayer. So I'll say that these two things so far are actually pretty good. We also got this whole new raids thing going on in Spec Ops, which you can only get if you purchase MW2. So that's another one of those supplementary things. So in my opinion, when it comes to content that is outside of the multiplayer realm, buying Modern Warfare 2019 Part 2 is actually not really a bad idea. I'll also go ahead and throw it out there that the campaign was actually really good in my opinion. So as it stands at this point in the video, I don't really think it's a bad idea to purchase this game. If you're somebody who's actually going to play Warzone, DMZ, Spec Ops, the raids missions, as well as campaign and possibly multiplayer, honestly, I do think you're kind of getting your money's worth. But when we start talking about the multiplayer side of things, that's where things can get a little spotty. That's where there's this big gray area in my opinion, because I've said this time and time again, and it's really funny when Gooch Lickers think I have nothing positive to say about this game. I don't think this is the worst COD in history. I don't even think it's in the bottom 3. Now, the possibility for this game being bottom 4 or 5 is definitely there, but the base foundation for this game is actually fairly decent. The gunplay, the graphics, the audio, the visuals, the overall smoothness of the engine in terms of movement, in terms of actually firing your gun, the core gameplay of what Call of Duty is to a T is actually done exceptionally well in this game. And I know that's gonna sound a little bit weird coming from the Scatmaster, but I can't in good faith shit on things that need to be shitted on without also showing the positive side of it, which I would say this is probably as far as it goes for MW2. And by this point in the video, you might still think to yourself, you know what, this sounds like a great deal. Everything so far that this guy's talked about has been incredible. I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. But this is where I would throw that whole asterisk mark next to this game. This game is currently worth $70. Now, if you're getting it on sale, maybe you're getting it for somewhere between $50 and $65. You get the multiplayer, you get everything else that I mentioned, and specifically if you're somebody who's only going to play play the multiplayer aspect of this game, such as myself and a lot of other people, this game struggles with a lot of the same issues that Call of Duty has been facing since 2019 with the first installment of Modern Warfare, or at least this era's version of it, which is pretty piss poor. First up, the biggest offender in my opinion is seasonal content, which if you're an OG player and you've been playing since the golden era of COD and you haven't really played these new CODs, this is an entirely different system to our content pool. And unfortunately, we went from 4 maps per map pack for a solid $20, and usually these were all great DLC maps, to now where we get about 2 maps, either remastered maps that we just had, or they're just flat out mid. And usually those 2 maps are separated from each other by about 3 to 5 weeks. And you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It makes the actual experience of the game very, very, very boring. I mean, you get burnt out extremely quickly playing the same 9 maps, especially when 2 of them are Tarak and Border Crossing, which are insta-skips in my opinion. But at the same time, some of these base maps aren't all that bad. We have Hotel, Fortress, Raceway, Embassy even for some people. Like some of these maps, they're like fairly decent, but it's such a small pool of maps to go off of. You get burnt out extremely quickly, and for the devs to drip feed these maps to us, it really doesn't help the game, even though it is fun to play. The overall feel of Call of Duty is very much present, but when you're doing it on the same few maps, it gets boring extremely quickly. The other issue that a lot of people have been talking about, and I'll make another video on this fairly soon, SBMM in this game is absolutely absurd. It's been absurd since 2019. There was a sharp change whenever that happened. The reasoning for this varies between crossplay being enabled, protecting noobs to increase the probability that they buy things in the shop. There's also some pretty solid rumors out there that sometimes there is a little bit of influencing and what a lot of people will consider rigging. Sometimes your gunfights don't actually feel like they were legit. I'm not gonna go super conspiracy theory on it, but there have been times where I've noticed, you know what, I absolutely should have killed this guy. Or sometimes I'll even notice, wow, I started off this game 10-0, and all of a sudden, a few minutes in, I'm getting packet burst, I'm getting lag, people are insta-killing me. I've definitely seen that part too, and there's the whole notion of you do good for like 2 games, you have a really good pop-off game, and then for the next like 5 or so matches, you're experiencing one of 2 things. You're either going against the entire LA Thieves team or the Atlanta FaZe team, or I guess nowadays since they just won New York Subliners, or you have 5 Stephen Hawkings on your team and you need to carry them and drag them through a dub. It is a combination of like the last 8 things I just mentioned, and eventually that also just burns you out extremely quickly. Not to mention there's still crashing issues, there's still a lot of scan-in repairs if you're on PC, and the best part is it doesn't matter what your optimization is. You can have the highest end PC out there, you can have fiber internet, you can have everything completely modified and optimized and adjusted for you. You unfortunately still experience a lot of these bugs. So for me so far, there's 3 things that heavily drag this game down, but this next one might actually seal the deal for a lot of you people. Personally, this might be one of those things that prevents me from buying it if I weren't a content creator, but the developers over at Infinity Ward, I know they and Activision and Charlie Intel and some of these gooch lickers, they all claim that Infinity Ward did an outstanding job with this game and they're super attentive to the community. I say otherwise. I actually say the complete opposite of that. Infinity Ward as developers is very notorious nowadays for completely ignoring their community and doing the exact opposite of the feedback that we give them. Prior to this game's launch, a special somebody out there said that Infinity Ward learned their lesson from MW 2019 and reversed all of those decisions based off of feedback that we gave. MW 2019 Part 2 comes out, red dots still don't exist on the map, there's no dead silence, lobbies still disband, and a whole slew of other things that I've talked about in previous videos. And yet, when we gave them feedback, not the first time after MW 2019, but after the beta, after beta weekend 2, after the exact launch of this game, Infinity Ward insists on doing the exact opposite of the feedback we give them. It is either ignored or they provide reasonings as to why they specifically won't make those changes, with reasonings as weak as, oh, well, we just think this game would play better without red dots. Meanwhile, we've never played this game or MW 2019 with red dots, so how would they know? Not to mention, it's already kind of questionable that the community gives you feedback and you simply don't do it when we're the community, the consumers, and the customers that give you money and keep you doing this. I'm not a dev, but if somebody told me, hey, your game has potential, but if you add this or at least consider it, I feel like your game would be a lot better. I don't know how they think, but as somebody with common sense, I would consider it and be like, you know what? Let's try it out for 2 weeks. Let's see how people like it on this weekend before launch, and if there's more positive reception here, then we're just gonna keep it this way. Unfortunately, the developers and the publishers over at Activision are very anti-community. So with all that being said, do I recommend that anybody purchases Modern Warfare 2019 Part 2? And my answer has changed since the first time I made this video. Back then, it was a flat out no. Right now, if you are solely focusing on multiplayer and nothing else interests you, no, do not buy this game. It is still not ready. But if you're somebody who's going to enjoy DMZ, Warzone, Spec Ops, even the campaign, in addition to the multiplayer, I would say go for it. The Scatmaster does approve in that section and in that section only. But that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. Do you think I got it wrong? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with my newest videos. And yeah, guys, it's been the boy Fooly. Have yourselves a good one, and I'll catch you guys next time. Toodles. It's been a